up, being abandoned, being ostracized, and left to just rot in the house, I think it's very disheartening. But we have to be very careful when assessing the situation, be very careful how we shift blames here and there. I think it's a complex issue. It goes beyond the parents or the caregivers, the whole system, even the mental health system we have in place. Because we all know that mental disorder can affect anybody. All kinds of treatments have been, and mistreatment, so to say, have been given to mental disorders in the quest, of mankind reaching for appropriate treatment. Some have been attributed to be witches or wizards, or they are suffering from demonic attacks. And so all kind of exorcism, all kind of deliverances have been in place in the time past. I'm talking about decades, many years ago. So some of them will be left, some of them will be shamed, some of them, have incisions on them, all kind of things, concussions and all sorts you can imagine. In the process, of course, their rights were deprived and they were treated terribly. But the world has moved on beyond that due to advent of science, and we've been able to discover that some of these myths associated with mental disorders are not there, are not real. So through knowledge, we've been able to discover modern medications that can take care of these problems so that people will not just be allowed to suffer unnecessarily. But it's disheartening too that in this part of the world, we are still living in the past. And so we have lots of patients. Before they even come to us, they've been taken to so many places, religious homes, traditional healers, and all kinds of things, all kinds of treatments. In fact, we have seen those people who are giving human urine to take as a form of therapy, urine therapy. We have seen patients that ran away from such places and came to hospital. Can you imagine someone being given urine? We've seen patients who are taking fecal matters, human fecal matters. We have seen those people who are given cow urine, not even human urine now. All kinds of things because of stigma too. Because of stigma. Family members may not want them to come here that, you know what, it means that the whole world will know that we have a member that suffers from mental disorders, and that's, will be extended, generalized to other members of the family. So they will keep this in secrecy, so to say. If I thought they would seek for help, I've told you, they will go to religious homes first. They will go to traditionalists. Eventually, they ended up coming here. And by the time they come to this place, the problem has become chronic. And when mental disorders have become chronic, it will also take a long time for recovery.
Frustration, ignorance, burden of care, as well as poverty are some of the issues caregivers may likely face, according to Dr. Adebayo. He also thinks dealing with these is not as easy as imagined. Some reasons why certain provisions must be put in place by the government, which include a revisit of the mental health bill.
The care of chronic patients like this are not just left in the hand of the family members, because sometimes they also will get tired. Sometimes they are also at the edge of the cliff of dropping to the ocean of mental disorder themselves because of the genetic vulnerability. So if a lot of them are passing through a lot of things, relatives of patients, and if care is not taken, some of them will break down. We have seen those who actually broke down. We have seen those who are at the edge of breaking down, and they will come to the hospital, and for that purpose, we even admit their patient. Not that the patient is dangerous at home, but because we know that the caregivers, they themselves are the threshold of, caving into mental disorders. So we can admit patients so that they have a moment of respite. But in the developed world, there are organizations, there are government policies that can take care of them. And that brings to mind the issue of mental health bill. Okay. We don't have a mental health bill or a mental health law that will put into cognizance the rights of these patients. Yes, they suffer from mental disorders, but they are still human beings. They are citizens. A lot of time, their rights have been eroded. They are treated as if they were animals. It shouldn't be, because most of them cannot be blamed, for their mental disorders.
Putting the mental health bill in place would illuminate dark spots surrounding mental health system in the country. But what should be the provisions?
And when we go for conference outside this country, we know what happens in other nations. Their medications are subsidized. We have geriatric, elderly people who suffer from mental disorders. They are no longer working. They are dependent on their children who are also jobless. And they are brought to the hospital. They cannot even take care of their bills. It's disheartening. So mental health bill should take care of the rights of the patients, the right to life, the right to treatment, the right to be treated well. It should also take care of the practitioners. Oftentimes, patients are brought here against their will, and some of them, they are not so bad mentally, and they threaten us that they will take legal actions. So how am I protected? How are my colleagues protected? How are the nurses, the psychologists, how are they protected? We are left unprotected. Part of the mental health bill should also talk about the policy, the practice and the structures. Okay? It should also take care of the issue of rehabilitation of patients after we have treated them. Where are the rehabilitation centers? How many do we have? How many psychiatric centers do we even have? If you go to our rural areas, do we have mental health workers there? The law should be able to handle those things so that these services will be available to our people. How many psychiatrists do we have in the country? How many psychiatric nurses or clinical psychologists do we have? We are training them here, we are losing them to develop world because we don't have the necessary infrastructures here. You manage patients. Hospitals and psychiatric hospitals are not places where you treat patients for years and you keep them there. No. After the initial period, the acute phase of the treatment, for some of them, they will still need care thereafter. There's what we call halfway home in developed country, where such patients can come from their home and be in such centers and learn some soft skills, so to say, learn some things to be less dependent on the people. And the hours they spend with their relatives during the day will be lessened so that the possible frictions and what we call the express emotions, okay, will be reduced.
While cases of child abandonment and lack of needed parental support for mental patients continue to come to the fore, it is hoped that critical attention is paid to the mental health sector to forestall a surge in cases such as this.